Before I became a mom, I didn't know that 10 to 25% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. Before I had a miscarriage, I didn't know just how heartbreaking that can be. Hi, I'm Johnna, and I'm sharing my story with you in case you are going through a miscarriage or you have a loved one who is and you want to know how to support them. It wasn't until a few years after being married, when I was 27, I woke up and said, I want a baby. Just like my dad told me I always would. And I thought it would just happen. I mean, I had lots of friends that got pregnant on accident, and I had no idea that it takes 9 months for the average person to get pregnant. So when I didn't get pregnant for 15 months, I had a really hard time. I had lots and lots of days of crying. I got a terrible tattoo on my ribs because I was living in the moment, or at least trying to. And I was just about to go through my fertility drugs when my doctor suggested that she thought my body was allergic to dairy and I should try going off dairy. Well, I went off for dairy for the month. My husband graduated from his MBA and we went to Paris. So somewhere in that, I'm not sure if it's stress or the no cheese that I love to eat or going to Paris, but I got pregnant with my first daughter, Harper Delilah, and it was amazing. And then, being that it took 15 months to get pregnant with her, I thought that it was going to take a long time a second time too. So we said, I don't want to go through that depression again. Why not just see what happens? Lucky in a way, I didn't get pregnant right away because I don't know what I would do pregnant at 6 months. But I got pregnant about 14 or 15 months after I had Harper. I also stopped breastfeeding around that time, so that was kind of the time that I started officially trying. And I was happy and didn't think anything could go wrong. And I went to my 7 or 8 week ultrasound and they said that they saw a sac, but they didn't see a baby. So they weren't sure it was miscarriage yet, so I had to wait. And they gave me a couple more ultrasounds, and it was for about 10 days that I knew if everything was okay or not. And that 10 days was really scary and hard because it's as if I was going through a miscarriage, but I didn't know if I was having a miscarriage. And we finally had the ultrasound, and they said everything was good, and I was going to have a baby. So I began to celebrate and feel more relaxed. And then about at 11 weeks, I went through another ultrasound, and it turned out the baby wasn't growing, and I lost the baby. So I was kind of going through the emotions again, and they said if I chose to have a D&C, which at that point, as late in my pregnancy as it was the decision I made, I would have to show up at the hospital the next day. And I didn't know what to expect, and obviously being really sad, and me and my husband just held each other all night, and we had my year-old baby to take care of too, 1.5-year-old. So when I showed up to the hospital, it was cold, as hospitals are, and I hate hospitals just because they feel so cold. And I didn't really expect for it to feel so icky. I don't know how else to describe it. I had to go to a separate room than Eli. I had to have blood taken. It just felt gross, and they ended up putting me under, which I didn't realize. The procedure's minutes long, but you end up being put under for about 4 hours. And I woke up out of it, probably a little goofy, and we tried to feel normal. We're like, let's go to sushi. I didn't really want to eat the sushi or drink the wine or one or the other, maybe both. And one thing I remember is Eli was really amazing. We just held each other a lot, and he's not the most emotional guy, but it was kind of wonderful to see how we would react during such a tragic time together. And friends were amazing, and I remember a new friend I met months before sent me edible arrangements, which I always thought were terribly corny and cheesy, but I loved eating that fruit. It was just a small little thing to feel loved. And people often ask, how do I support, what do I do in a situation like this? I don't know what to say, and for me personally, my policy, I think with anything in general, is be honest. Say, I don't know what to say, but I'm here if you need me. And I think that's all you really want to hear. And whether it's not on the phone in person, it's on a voicemail or a text or a letter, flowers and all the other things are fine, but really just knowing that someone's there and they're they recognize that it's not easy. After the D&C and you're definitely in bed for a couple days and resting, what I wasn't ready for, what the doctor didn't warn me about, is that you're just not, all of a sudden, just not pregnant. Like, your body still looks pregnant. You're hormonally feel pregnant. You feel very emotional, and some people are angry, some people are sad, some people are cranky, some people don't want to get out of bed. But you also look pregnant. And being the second pregnancy, I gained weight really quick. I think I gained like 8 or 10 pounds like right away. And I'm 5'2", that's a lot. And for anybody, that's a lot. And so waking up every morning and looking down and just being reminded that clothes don't fit. I don't feel myself. But I'm going through all of this and I don't have a baby to show for it. And because the doctor, obviously that wasn't high on the list, like you're not going to go back to your normal size, didn't share that with me. I was searching the internet like crazy. I called that poor office 2 or 3 times. They're like, we can't tell you anything else. Like, you'll lose the weight. Well, so after the research I did and talking to people, I found that your body holds the HCG hormone, which is your pregnancy hormone, for usually about 10 days, sometimes longer, which makes you hold on to the baby weight. Your body still thinks it's pregnant. You also can be bloated, you can have tender, I hate that word, breast, which my boobs didn't get ever big, but, and then you're stressed and you don't have sleep. So all these things contribute to you not losing weight. Also, until you get your next cycle, your hormones are still kind of crazy. So it really wasn't until 6 weeks, I think, about that I finally had my period, which was also when I started, I lost the last couple pounds. The advice I can give is, just let it be. It'll happen. Give your body and yourself time. You gained the weight because of your hormone. You're gonna lose the weight when your hormones go back to normal. And in terms of how to be there for your husband, and how to have your husband be there for you, I know for me, I didn't know what to expect, but you have to remember, he's going through a loss too. It was his baby too. And so I've heard different husbands crying to their friends, their guy friends, or just coming to them upset, and a lot of times it's because they don't want to turn to you. And so I think that you need to be affectionate with each other and show love for each other and ask each other what each other needs from you, because that's how you made the baby, because you loved each other. So oftentimes your husband doesn't want to come to you and turn on to you with his feelings and him being upset or whatever it is he's going through, because they don't want to put it onto you. So you have to make sure to be there for them as much as you want them to be there for you, in whatever way you require that for your own personality. So it took me 6 straight weeks to have another cycle, and I don't know if I was necessarily ready. I wasn't ready to get pregnant again. I think my husband was more ready than I was. But fortunately, I did get pregnant again, and I had my crazy Walker Monet. It's weird because sometimes I'll find myself sad, surprisingly sad. I surprise myself because I'm so thankful to have that little girl. I find myself sad about the miscarriage, or something will remind me of the loss, or I'll find someone that has a similar experience and I'll get emotional, and I have to give that to myself because we did have a loss. But in that, I feel really lucky and blessed because I had Walker. Getting pregnant 2 months after was, it felt really quick for me, and I remember being scared. I was really scared. And doctors, I guess, tend to tell you usually, which I didn't hear it from my doctor, maybe because I didn't ask, maybe because I didn't hear them say it, but they recommend usually after D&C to not get pregnant again for at least 3 months. And I actually had complications, which we believe could be because of the D&C and getting pregnant so quickly after. So for the first 4 months of my pregnancy, 5 months with Walker was pretty scary, and I bled a ton. I mean, gushed blood 4 or 5 different times. So, the first time was 5 days after I found out I was pregnant. So I immediately thought I had a miscarriage, and I called the hospital, and I thought I did too. It was on a Saturday, and I couldn't find out till Monday. So I had about 5 months of gushing blood, and then the pregnancy was fine. So I do wish in that way, or would recommend, because I wouldn't have Walker, but I would recommend that you wait the full 3 months or whatever it is your doctor tells you to wait to get pregnant again, so you don't have to just have that worry like I did. I'm not a doctor. I'm just here to share with you my experience, but you have a doctor, and so please make sure that you ask them the questions that you're confused about. No questions silly, but that's what they're there for.